February 19, 1945. Off the sulfur-choked shores of Iwo Jima, the Pacific swells like a restless beast under the grey dawn sky. You can taste the acrid bite of volcanic ash on your tongue before your boots even touch the black sand. Fine, powdery grit that clings to everything, sifting into your collar, your rifle sling, your very breath. The air throbs with the guttural roar of Higgins boats slicing through the waves, their ramps slamming down like guillotines into the surf. Shells from the battleships offshore, the mighty USS Tennessee, the Nevada, arc overhead in fiery whistles, pounding the island's jagged cliffs and that brooding hulk of Mount Suribachi, its slopes scarred and steaming like the hide of some ancient wounded dragon. This is no green paradise. Iwo Jima is a fortress forged from hell's own forge, 8 square miles of pumice and pillboxes, honeycombed with tunnels where 21,000 Japanese defenders wait, invisible, unyielding. In the belly of one of those churning landing craft, Private Worth K. Baird grips the side rail, his knuckles whitening against the salt-crusted metal. He's 24, from the quiet farmlands of Warren County, Ohio, a place of cornfields and county fairs, where the biggest explosion was a 4th of July firecracker. Now his M1 Garand rests heavy across his knees, its oiled stock slick with sweat, 8 rounds chambered, and a bandolier of clips slung over his shoulder like a serpent. His helmet, stenciled with a white C for his company in the 27th Marines, 5th Division, bobs with the boat's pitch. Beside him, Corporal Ellis from Texas mutters a half-prayer under his breath, while up front, Lieutenant Hargrove scans the horizon through binoculars, his face a mask of forced calm. The sea foams red around them already, wounded men from earlier waves, their cries swallowed by the din of machine guns chattering from the beaches like angry hornets. "Christ, it's hotter than a billy goat in a pepper patch," Ellis whispers, but no one laughs. The tension coils tighter as the coxswain guns the engine, the boat lunging forward. Japanese artillery, those hidden 150mm guns in Suribachi's caves, opens up now, shells erupting in geysers of water and shrapnel that pepper the hull like hail on tin. One catches the boat to starboard. A scream rips through the air as a marine's leg vanishes in a spray of blood and bone. Baird's stomach lurches, not from the waves, but from the metallic tang of fear mingling with the sulfur. He thinks of Jean, back in Ohio, her letters tucked in his breast pocket like talismans. "Write to me every day, Worth. Tell me everything." But how? The censors back at base will black out half of it anyway. Locations classified, battles sanitized into all's well platitudes. No, the truth, that's for the diary burning a hole in his pack, that slim notebook of lined paper he'd smuggled despite the brass's orders. Diaries are for spies and fools, the sergeant had barked during briefing. One loose page, and we're all dead. But Worth needs it, needs to scratch out the raw edges, the ones that would shatter her if they ever slipped through the mail. The ramp drops with a hydraulic groan, and they're in the water, waist-deep churning black surf that sucks at their cartridge belts like quicksand. Bullets zip past, low and lethal, kicking up puffs of ash from the beach. Baird stumbles forward, the weight of his pack, 50 pounds of K rations, extra socks, and that diary dragging him down. A pillbox erupts to his left, its muzzle flash a brief orange stab before it belches lead. He dives behind a driftwood log half buried in the sand, heart hammering like a trip hammer. Around him, the 4th and 5th Divisions swarm ashore, 70,000 men in the first waves, their olive-drab uniforms caked black within minutes. The beach is a chaos of inverted chaos, Amtraks grinding inland, corpsmen hauling the wounded on stretchers slick with blood, engineers blowing craters for foxholes while mortars whine overhead. Worth claws his way up the slope, fingers sinking into the volcanic soil that yields like flour, but hardens like concrete under boot. A Japanese sniper's round snaps the air inches from his ear, crack, embedding in the helmet of the man behind him, Private Ruiz, who crumples without a sound. "Medic!" someone yells, but it's too late. Ruiz's eyes stare blank at the sky. Baird's breath comes in ragged gasps as he hunkers into a shallow scrape, fumbling for his entrenching tool. The ground trembles from a near miss, showering him with pebbles and ash. In the distance, Suribachi looms, its peak wreathed in smoke from the naval barrage, 3 days of hellfire that should have cracked the island open, but barely scratched its vitals. General Suribachi's boys are dug in deep, 11 miles of tunnels, blockhouses camouflaged with scrub and net. This isn't Tarawa, it's worse. The ash clogs your rifle, chokes your throat, turns every step into a slide backward. By midday, the beachhead clings like a scab, 500 yards deep if they're lucky, but raked by enfilading fire from the flanks. Casualties pile up. 2,400 Marines hit in the first hours alone, their ponchos flapping like grim flags over the aid stations. Worth's platoon digs in near the seawall, a jagged line of coral and concrete that offers scant cover. His hands shake as he spoons cold sea ration stew, spam and crackers tasting of tin and regret, while the sun beats down mercilessly, turning the air into a furnace. Ellis lights a lucky strike, the flame dancing in cupped palms, and passes it over. "Think we'll see mail before we see Japs," he jokes, but his eyes are hollow. Mail. That's the thread Worth clings to as the afternoon drags into a haze of patrols and false alarms. No letters yet. The fleet's too busy dodging kamikazes, and the censors are swamped. But in the diary, slipped out under cover of a poncho, he scratches the first entry. Got mail for first time. Letters from Jean, Mother, Harry and Mrs. Hubble. Wrote letter to Jean. Couldn't say I'm on Iwo. Hope I can soon. Wait. No, that's not right. The mail hasn't come. It's the anticipation, the ghost of it, that haunts him. He amends it in the fading light, pencil lead snapping on the page. Landed today. Hell of a welcome. Waves like mountains, bullets like rain. Jean's face in my head the whole way. Can't tell her where, but God, I need her words. Night falls like a shroud. The stars pricked out over the fleet's silhouette. Destroyers circling like sheepdogs, their searchlights probing the dark. Japanese probes slink in, shadowy figures in the wire, met with bursts from bars and grenades that light the ridges like fireworks. Worth stands watch in a foxhole shared with Ellis, the cold seeping up from the ground despite the day's heat. The ash muffles sounds, turns every rustle into a threat. He thinks of home, Jean's laughter over Sunday roast, the way her hair caught the light in their tiny apartment. Her letters do so much to pick me up, he'd write later. It's just like a new spark of life. She's a sweet wife. But tonight, there's only silence, broken by the distant thump of artillery and the moans from the hospital ship offshore. As the first false dawn pales the horizon, Worth folds the diary shut, tucking it deep in his pack. The ban be damned, this is his anchor in the storm. Out there beyond the breakers, the war machine grinds on. B-29s from the Marianas will soon need this rock for emergency strips, fighters to escort the firebombings that will turn Tokyo to ash. But for now, it's personal. Survival. One entry at a time. One letter when it comes, to remind him there's a world beyond the volcano's shadow. Dawn breaks on February 20th, 1945, not with birdsong or the scent of coffee, but with the staccato cough of Japanese Nambu machine guns raking the ridgelines, their tracers stitching the sky like fiery seams. You feel it before you hear it fully, the ground shuddering under your foxhole as a mortar round detonates 50 yards upslope, hurling clods of ash and rock that patter down like black rain. Worth K. Baird blinks the grit from his eyes, his M1 clutched like a crucifix, the bayonet fixed and gleaming dully in the pale light. The night probes have left their toll. 3 men from Company C down, throats slit in the wire, their ponchos now shrouds stained with the coppery reek of blood. Ellis stirs beside him, coughing ash from his lungs, his bar automatic rifle propped on the foxhole lip, its bipod caked with the island's cursed powder. Another day in paradise, he mutters, spitting a glob of phlegm-tinted grey. The platoon stirs like a wounded animal, Marines crawling from their scrapes to form ragged lines under Lieutenant Hargrove's barked orders. "Move out, you sorry bastards. Suribachi ain't gonna take itself." Hargrove's a Philadelphian, all wiry muscle and Jersey grit, his Thompson submachine gun slung low on its leather strap, a .45 pistol holstered at his hip for the close work ahead. The objective today, push inland from the beaches, claw 1,000 yards toward the volcano's base where the real meat grinder waits. Overhead, P-38 Lightnings from the carriers scream low, their 50 caliber guns chattering in strafing runs that kick up rooster tails of dust from the terraces. But the Japs are ghosts, Suribachi's fanatics, burrowed in concrete revetments with periscopes glinting like predator eyes, popping up to loose a burst before vanishing into the labyrinth below. Worth falls in with his squad. The 8 of them, a ragged file weaving through shell craters that steam like open graves. His pack bites into his shoulders, the diary wedged in a sock for padding, its pages already curling from the damp. He hasn't written since last night, too exhausted, too exposed, but the words simmer in his mind. The landing's chaos, Ruiz's blank stare, the way the surf had boiled with blood like some biblical parting. They advance in bounds, one fire team covering while the next dashes forward, boots sliding on the loose scree that turns every slope into a betrayal. A pillbox nestles in the terrace ahead, camouflaged with woven palm fronds and blasted coral. 50 yards off, it's slit dark as a cobra's hood. "Flame it," Hargrove snaps, and Private Kowalski hefts the M2 flamethrower, its 2 steel tanks hissing under 70 pounds of napalm mix. He waddles forward, the pilot light flickering blue, and unleashes a whoosh of orange hell that engulfs the slot in liquid fire. Screams echo from within, inhuman and brief, as the structure belches black smoke. The squad piles in after, grenades arcing through the charred opening, their blasts muffled thumps that settle the silence. By noon they've gained 500 yards, but the cost is etched in the sand. Medevac jeeps churning back to the LSTs offshore, loaded with bandaged figures whose moans carry on the wind. Worth pauses in the lee of a shattered blockhouse, gulping from his canteen, the water warm and metallic laced with chlorine tabs that do nothing for the thirst gnawing his throat. He fishes out a de-rationed chocolate bar, its wax wrapper crinkling like forbidden candy, and chews mechanically while scanning the horizon. Suribachi dominates still, its flanks pocked with fresh craters from the Nevada's 14-inch guns, yet unmoved, defiant. Reports filter back via runner, the 28th Marines on the left flank pinned by enfilade from Quarry Ridge, the 23rd taking a pounding at the airfield. Casualties climbing, 600 yesterday, more today. And no mail. The promise of it hangs like a mirage, the fleet's pouch planes grounded by weather, or worse. The afternoon bleeds into a fever of patrols and counterattacks. Worth's squad draws point for a recon up a ravine, the air thick with the stench of cordite and unburied dead. Japanese corpses bloated in their khaki, faces twisted in rictus grins from the banzai charges that had failed at dawn. Flies buzz in clouds, metallic green, laying eggs in wounds that weep pus. He steps over a gutted Nambu, its water-cooled barrel warped from a bazooka hit, and freezes at a rustle in the brush. "Contact," Ellis hisses, and the world erupts. A knee mortar plunks from hidden heights, the rounds blooming in airbursts that shower shrapnel like hot confetti. Worth dives, the fragment whistling past his ear, to thunk into a tree trunk inches away. He returns fire blindly. The M1s recoil a familiar kick against his shoulder, brass casings ejecting in golden arcs that bury in the ash. The squad lays down a base of fire, Ellis's bar ripping 500 rounds a minute, while Hargrove flanks with grenades, their pineapple shapes tumbling end over end. It ends as abruptly as it began, a final grenade's crump, then silence broken only by the victor's ragged breaths. 2 Japs down, one crawling with half his face gone, dispatched with a .45 slug to the temple. Worth's hands tremble as he reloads, the clip's ping echoing in his skull. Back at the lines he slumps against a sandbag revetment, the day's tally etched in bruises and fatigue. No entry yet, but in his head, bullets like hornets today. Lost Kowalski to a sniper. Flamethrower burst like a Roman candle. John, if you knew. The sun dips toward the horizon, painting Suribachi in bloody hues, its shadow stretching like a claw over the plain. February 21st dawns with rain, not the cleansing kind, but a sulphurous drizzle that turns the ash to glue, clogging weapons and boots alike. The push resumes, the 5th Division grinding north toward the terraces, bulldozers from the engineers scarring the earth for tank paths. Worth's platoon supports a company assault on a reverse-slope bunker, their 60mm mortars lobbing shells in high arcs that whomp into the earth. He mans the ammo detail, Humping crates of WP smoke rounds up the slope, the white phosphorus canisters heavy as sin. A runner brings word mid-morning, mail call, finally, the first since H-hour. The platoon clusters like starved dogs around the jeep, hands outstretched for the canvas sacks. Worth's name is called. 3 letters, thin V-mail reproductions microfilmed back home to save space on the clippers. He tears the first open under a poncho's drip. Jean's script wobbly but dear. Darling, the papers say something big in the Pacific. Are you safe? Write soon. Mother sends her love. His throat tightens, the words are balm on raw nerves. Mother's note follows, chatty about the Victory Garden, Harry's promotion at the plant, and Mrs. Hubble, the neighbour, with clippings from the Warren Tribune. Oh, happy day, he thinks, the phrase lodging like a hook. Mail at last. 2 from Jean and 1 from Mother. Sure was great to get them. He scribbles replies on censored forms. All's well, missing you fierce. But the diary gets the truth, pulled out in a stolen moment. Got mail for first time. Letters from Jean, Mother, Harry and Mrs. Hubble. Wrote letter to Jean. Couldn't say I'm on Iwo. Hope I can soon. Her letters do so much to pick me up. It's just like a new spark of life. She's a sweet wife. The euphoria fades with the rain. That afternoon, as patrols probe Suribachi's lower flanks, disaster strikes near the volcano's base. An ammo dump, ours, overlooked in the chaos, takes a stray round, or maybe a Jap infiltrator's grenade. The explosion rips the air like God's own thunder, a chain reaction of 105mm shells and 50 cal belts cooking off in a symphony of fire. Worth's halfway up a terrace when it hits, the blast wave slamming him flat, ears ringing with a high whine. Awakened early this morning by a terrific explosion, he'd write later, though it was midday, the diary's dates blurring in memory. Ammo was still going off, drums of gas exploded, shrapnel had flown everywhere. Wish I could tell her all that happens. Flames lick the sky, a pyre visible from the fleet, drawing cheers from the destroyers who mistake it for progress. But on the ground, it's carnage. 5 men vaporized, others shredded by fragments that whistle like banshees. Worth crawls to Ellis, who's clutching a gash on his arm, blood seeping through fingers. Lucky, Ellis gasps. And they are. Shrapnel peppers the ground around them, but spares their flesh. Night clamps down again, the rain a relentless patter on helmets and ponchos. The platoon licks wounds in a perimeter of tripwires and claymores, the air electric with probes, Japs in the dark, bayonets fixed, silent as death. Worth stands watch till midnight, the diary his companion in the foxhole, pencil tracing the day's horrors under a flashlight's hooded beam. No mail again, he notes, the joy soured by delays, the pouch planes dodging typhoons, censors slashing details. This mail situation is getting terrible. No one on the rock is getting mail. Beyond the lines, Suribachi broods, its guns silenced for now, but tunnels alive with reinforcements. The flag raising is 2 days off, that mythic moment on the 23rd when Easy Company's patrol plants Old Glory on the summit, Joe Rosenthal's shutter clicking the image that will fuel bonds and rage back home. But for Worth, it's just another ridge to bleed for, another entry to hide from prying eyes. As the second dawn creeps in, the grind resumes, toward the meat grinder, toward the letters that tether him to Ohio's green fields. The volcano waits, ash falling like snow on a world gone mad. The third dawn of February 22nd, 1945, cracks the sky like a rifle bolt, spilling weak light over a landscape that's less island now and more abattoir. Craters yawning like fresh-dug graves, the air heavy with the sweet rot stink of high explosives mingled with the ever-present sulfur belch from Iwo's bowels. You wake to it choking you, that ash, finer than talc, coating your tongue like a bitter sacrament as you hock it up from the foxhole sump. Worth K. Baird rolls onto his side, every muscle a knot of fire from yesterday's haul, his wool field jacket stiff with dried sweat and grime, the collar chafing a raw stripe on his neck. The M1 leans against the revetment wall, its barrel wrapped in a sock to keep the powder dry, but the ash sneaks in anyway, grinding like sand in the action. Ellis is already up, brewing coffee from a can in a shallow helmet. Maxwell House grounds scavenged from a ration crate, boiled over a foxhole stove that spits blue flame from C4 scraps. "Rise and shine, Ohio," Ellis says, passing a tin cup sloshing with the brew, black as midnight and twice as bitter. Worth takes it, the heat searing his palms through the metal, a small mercy against the dawn chill that claws up from the ground. The platoon's orders come crackling over the walkie-talkie, Hargrove's voice tinny and edged with fatigue. "Easy company's pushing for Suribachi's summit today. We're in reserve. Support if they bog down." Reserve means waiting, that peculiar hell of war where your nerves fray on the edge of a blade, every distant crump a potential summons. The 28th Marines have been bleeding for the mountain's flanks, flame tanks belching fire into cave mouths, while Shermans churn the terraces into mud. Overhead, the Navy's Corsairs prowl, their Pratt & Whitney radials growling as they dive on spotted mortars, 20mm cannon stitching the slopes. But Kuribayashi's web holds, reverse slope defenses that swallow assaults whole. Japs counterattacking from tunnels with satchel charges that rip tracks off tanks like paper. Worth's squad hunkers in a bombed-out quarry, the walls scarred black from yesterday's barrage, using the time to clean weapons. Bore brushes scraping carbon, oilcloths wiping bores until the steel gleams. He steals a glance at his pack, the diary's corner peeking like a guilty secret. No entry since the mail. Too much motion, too many eyes. But the words queue up, the explosions roar still echoing in his ears, the shrapnels whine, a phantom itch on his skin. By mid-morning, the radio spits urgency. Easy company pinned halfway up Suribachi, snipers picking them off from spider holes, mortars zeroing the trails. "Move out!" Hargrove bellows, and they're double-timing it south, boots pounding the ash paths that wind like veins toward the volcano. The air thickens with cordite as they near the lines, the slope a staircase of hell, boulders blasted to knife edges, bodies sprawled in the lee, some American in their blood-soaked herringbone twill, others Japanese in faded uniforms, Arisaka rifles clutched like lovers. Worth's breath rasps in his throat, the climb sapping lungs already raw from the fumes. A corpsman darts past, morphine syringe in hand, needling a kid from Idaho whose guts spill from a bayonet twist. "Keep moving," Ellis urges, his bar slung easy, a 20-round mag locked and loaded. They link up with the assault teams at the jump-off point, a saddle below the rim where the grade pitches to 60 degrees, loose rock avalanching underfoot. The push goes in waves. First platoon flanks left, grenades bounding ahead like children's toys from hell, while second draws fire from the crest. Worth's with the support element, humping 81mm mortar rounds up the goat path, the willow crates bruising his shoulders through the pack straps. Bullets snap overhead. Japanese Type 99s, their 7.7mm rounds cracking supersonic, chipping stone that stings like bees. A direct hit takes a radio man, his SCR 536 shattering in a blue flash, the man folding like laundry. "Covering fire," Hargrove yells, and the squad unleashes, Worth's M1 barking in semi-auto, the Garan's ping of empty clips a rhythm to the chaos. They gain the ridge by noon, the summit a shattered crown of boulders and blasted brush, the stars and stripes nowhere in sight yet, but whispers of it rippling through the ranks like a rumor of rain. It's Sergeant Hayes from Easy who spots the chance. A break in the wire, a tunnel mouth yawning unguarded. "Chaplin's with us. Let's plant the flag," he shouts, and a patrol forms on the fly. 6 men, Hayes leading with a length of storm pole scavenged from a wrecked Amtrak, the flag itself a company guidon, 20 stars on blue nylon, stiff from salt. Worth isn't in the patrol, his squad's holding the flank, but he watches from a cleft, heart pounding as they scramble the last 40 yards, exposed on the dome like ants on glass. Snipers open up, rounds spanging off rocks, but the pole goes in, a twist into the soft ash, the flag snapping taut in the updraft. Cheers erupt from below, a roar that rolls down the slope to the beaches, Marines surging forward as if the cloth itself were armor. From the fleet, whistles blow, the big guns falling silent in salute. Joe Rosenthal, the Associated Press photog, crouches low, his speed graphic clicking the frame that will etch into eternity. 5 Marines and a Navy corpsman straining against the pole, faces grim with effort, the mountains gore at their feet. Word hits the platoon like a grenade's thrill. Suribachi's ours. The first airfield's in sight, Motoyama No. 1. Its runways cratered but salvageable for the P-51s that will escort the big birds to Tokyo. Worth slumps against a boulder, the adrenaline crash leaving him hollow, his canteen empty and his rations down to a half can of corned beef hash, cold and congealing. The mail jeep rolls up in the lee of the lines, sacks bulging. Second delivery since D-Day, the censors working overtime on the LSTs. His share won from Jean, folded crisp, her words leaping out, the radio's buzzing about a flag on some rock. Is that you, my brave one? Praying for your safe return. He reads it twice, the paper soft under calloused fingers, then pens the reply on a knee-scribbled pad. Saw the flag go up today, morale through the roof. Love you more than words. But the diary, hidden in a boot for the climb, gets the grit. Flag on Suribachi. Boys did it with pipe and guts. Japs still sniping from holes, got 2 after. No mail today, but yesterday's still warm. This place is a grinder, but that flag, it's something to fight for. Afternoon turns to ambush. Japanese counterattack from the mountain's guts. A banzai wave of 50, faces painted with rice and rage, bayonets fixed on Type 38s. They hit the perimeter like a human tide, screaming, "Banzai!" that echoes off the cliffs. Hargrove's Thompson chatters first, 45 slugs punching holes at 600 rounds a minute, while Ellis's bar hoses the flank, the recoil walking the muzzle left to right. Worth fires from the hip, the M1's woodstock hot against his cheek, each pull a thunderclap that drops a figure in khaki. Grenades fly, MK2 pineapples bursting in pink smoke and screams, until the wave breaks, bodies piling like driftwood, the survivors fleeing to caves where flamethrowers will root them out by dusk. The cost: 4 wounded, 1 KIA, a kid from Boston with a chest full of lead. Worth helps drag him back, the weight dead and final, blood soaking his trousers. February 23rd bleeds into the 24th without mercy, the flag's glory soured by the mop-up. Suribachi's tunnels vomit reinforcements, Kuribayashi's orders iron. No surrender, fight to the last rice ball. Worth's platoon rotates in for cave clearing, satchel charges in haversacks. Demolitions men like Private Lyle with their Bangalore torpedoes. Long tubes of TNT for blasting blockages. The air inside is tomb-stale, lit by flashlight beams that dance on concrete walls, slick with condensation. "Light 'em up," a demo shouts, and the world goes white-hot, the blast's overpressure slamming ears like hammers. Worth covers the entrance, M1 trained on the smoke, picking off shadows that twitch. 1 lunges, a Jap officer. Sword raised in futile yaijutsu, dropped by Ellis's point shot. They emerge coughing, faces blackened, the island's heat amplified in the labyrinth, sweat steaming off skin like fog. Mail comes sporadic now, the pouch planes dodging foul weather over the Marianas. V-mail's microfilm delays stretching days to weeks. Worth's latest, a bundle from home. Jean's latest fretting over ration points for sugar. Harry's tales of rivet gunning at the Willow Run plant. Jean's letter said she got the Time mag. About Iwo, so she knows I'm here, he scrawls in the diary that night, huddled in a newly dug hole near the mountain's foot, the pencil's point dulled to a stub. I'm sure glad she has finally found out. I couldn't think of any other way to tell her definitely. The censor's blades had spared no hints, but Time's dateline slipped through, a crack in the veil. It's a month's mark since arrival, the battle's jaws clamping tighter, northern defences looming, the meat grinder ahead with its interlocking fields of fire. Casualties crest 5,000, the hospital ships offshore a floating city of agony, plasma bottles swaying from hooks. As night coils around the lines, probe parties slink in again, silhouettes in the wire, met with flares that pop like signal stars, illuminating the kill zone. Worth's watch is the graveyard shift, the diary open on his lap, entries blurring dates in the exhaustion. No mail again. This mail situation is getting terrible. No one on the rock is getting mail. The volcano's shadow lingers, flag whipping atop it like a taunt. But the war's not won. It's deepening, tunnels burrowing toward the heart. Ohio feels a lifetime away. Jean's letters the only light in the ash-choked dark. Tomorrow, the grind north, toward airfields and annihilation, one foxhole at a time. February 25, 1945, arrives with a wind that howls down from the north like a dirge, whipping ash devils across the central plain where the first airfield squats, its concrete slabs cracked and pitted like an old man's teeth. You taste the grit in every breath, a dry rasp that coats your molars and turns swallowing to sandpaper on flesh, as Worth K. Baird shoulders his pack for the march north, the straps cutting welts into skin already raw from harness chafe. The M1 hangs familiar now, its walnut stock scarred from a slide down a terrace, the sling knotted tighter after a near loss in yesterday's cave clear. Ellis walks point today, his bar's butt tucked under arm like a farmer's hoe, the weapon's 24-pound heft a grudge against the slope. Hargrove leads the platoon strung out in column, his map case flapping against thigh, compass needle jittering in the volcanic interference that plays hell with navigation. "Keep it tight, Leathernecks. No stragglers for the bastards to pick off," he growls, voice hoarse from shouting over the wind. The division's shifting gears, Suribachi's mop-up handed to reserves, the real prize ahead. Motoyama Airfield No. 2, then the highlands where Kuribayashi's main defenses coil like a spring, 11,000 men in the rock, their 47mm anti-tank guns zeroed on approaches, tunnels stocked with enough rice and ammo for eternity. The trek north is a funeral procession through desolation, the ground a moonscape of overlapping craters from the 16 inches that had softened the beaches but barely dented the interior. Worth's boots sink ankle-deep in the powder, each step a labor that pulls at calves like hot tar, the sun a hammer on helmets that bake brains inside. Flanking patrols flush snipers from scrub, pop-pop of Arisakas answered by Garen's deeper cough. But the real threats lurk in the draws, knee mortars lobbing 50mm rounds that burst mid-air, shrapnel pattering like lethal sleet. They pass the aid stations, canvas tents sagging under fly-blown flies, the air thick with iodoform and screams muffled by ether cones. A legless Marine from the 26th Regiment hitches past on a litter jeep, his eyes glassy on morphine, stump wrapped in stained field dressing. "How's the fightin'?" he croaks, and Ellis mutters, "Winnin'," but no one believes it. Casualties are a river now, over 7,000 US since D-Day. The hospital ship Solace a hive offshore, her decks slick with blood funneled from the beaches. By midday, the platoon digs in on the airfield's edge, foxholes ringed with coral chunks scavenged from blasted revetments, the positions a hasty arc facing the rising ground to the north. Engineers swarm like ants, Seabees in dungarees wielding bulldozers that belch diesel smoke, patching runways for the first C-47s that will airlift in ammo and evacuate the worst off. Worth mans a listening post with Ellis, the two of them prone in a scrape, bayonets probing for booby-trapped soda pop cans, the Japs' favorite trick, grenades rigged under empties from our own rations. The wind dies to a whisper, leaving silence that's worse, broken only by the distant thud of demolitions in the hills. Mail call finds them there, a runner humping sacks from the beachhead, the canvas heavy with the backlog, V-mails tiny photos of home, enlarged from film no bigger than a stamp, faces blurred but beloved. Worth's Hall, 2 from Jean, 1 a real letter slipped through, her penmanship looping with worry over the flag photo in the papers. "Darling, that picture's everywhere. Soldiers raising it high. Tell me you're not one of them, please. The garden's blooming, but without you." He reads under the brim of his helmet, the words a lifeline uncoiling in his chest, then folds them into his breast pocket, next to the lucky rabbit's foot she'd sewn in before shipping out. The diary comes out in the hole's privacy, pencil etching the relief. Mail today. Jean's got the news from Time. Knows it's Iwo now. Glad, 'cause I couldn't say. Her words, like rain here. But the joy's fleeting. The afternoon brings the grinder's first bite. Japanese counter-battery fire walks the airfield, 120mm mortars from Hill 362 cratering the fresh fill, geysers of earth that bury a dozer and its driver in a scream of twisted steel. "Incoming!" Hargrove's shout barely precedes the whump-whump, and Worth dives deeper. The blast concussing air from lungs, dirt sifting down his back like grave soil. Shrapnel peppers the position, a jagged fin slicing Ellis's calf, the corporal cursing as he ties a tourniquet from his web belt, the knot tight enough to blanch skin white. The assault goes in at dusk, the 27th Marines spearheading across the open ground toward the first terrace, tanks rumbling support, LVTs mounting 75mm howitzers that crack high-velocity rounds into the ridges. Worth's squad flanks right, weaving through a boulder field where every shadow hides death. The air electric with the ozone tang of unburnt powder. A pillbox opens up at 50 yards, its twin 13mm HOs spitting green tracer fire that stitches the ground. "Grenades!" Ellis yells from his limp, and Worth pulls the pin on an MK2, the spoon flipping free as he hurls it spoon over thumb, the blast's crack, followed by a flamethrower's roar. Kowalski's replacement, a kid from Philly, hosing jellied gasoline that drips and burns, turning screams to gurgles. They rush the smoke, bayonets low, Worth's blade sinking into cloth and resistance before he twists free, bile rising at the wet suck. Inside, 2 Japs charred beyond recognition, a third gutshot and muling, finished with a pistol shot from Hargrove's 45. Night falls on secured ground, but sleeps a thief. Probes at the wire, flares popping to silhouette infiltrators who melt back into the dark. Worth's shift ends at 200, the diary his vigil, pushed north today. Airfield's ours, but the hills eat men. Ellis nicked but walking. Mail from Jean, knows where I am now. 1 month tomorrow. Feels like years. February 26th dawns with fog, a rare mercy that cloaks the advance. The platoon threading a ravine toward Bloody Gorge, that V-shaped scar in the highlands where the walls channel fire like a slaughter chute. The terrain turns savage, cliffs of tough rising sheer, caves honeycombed at the base, Japs machine guns enfilading the draw from 50 feet up. Tanks lead, their 37mm cokes chattering, but the rock swallows rounds, bazookas answer, rockets streaking in white contrails to boom against concrete, fragments ricocheting like hornets. The gorge lives up to its name by noon. The 5th Marines take 300 casualties in the bottleneck, corpsmen wading knee-deep in blood to slap sulfur on wounds, plasma lines snaking from jeeps. Worth's in the second wave, M1 shouldered as he bounds from cover to cover, boulders the size of Buicks blasted smooth. A burst catches the man ahead, Private Malone, his chest blooming red, folding into the ash with a gurgle. "Cover him," Hargrove orders, and Worth lays down fire, the Garans recoil a metronome to his panic, clips cycling empty in a blur. They drag Malone back, the courtman's scissors snicking fatigues, but it's futile. Lungs shredded, eyes glazing. The squad presses, flamethrowers probing caves. The napalms roar drowning human cries, but the Japs hold, counter-attacking with satchels that blow a Sherman to flaming scrap, its crew bailing in fireballs. Mail trickles in amid the stalemate, the planes risking the flak for drops on the strip. Worth's latest bundle arrives blood-flecked from a runner hit in transit. Jean's latest, scented faintly with her perfume, words tumbling. The news says heavy fighting on that island. "Promise me you'll come home, Worth. Harry's shipping out soon. Scares me." He replies by flashlight that night. The lines a perimeter of flickering braziers from oil-soaked rags. The air chill now with the trade winds shifting. Battle's tough, but we're advancing. Love you, keep the home fires. The diary, though, spills the flood. Bloody Gorge today. Lost Malone to a burst. Hills like teeth chewing us up. No mail would kill quicker than bullets. Her letters, spark of life. The grind stretches into March 1st, the division rotating assaults on Hill 382, and the Turkey Knob, ridges that bristle with wire and mines, the ground a checkerboard of hot steel and hot lead. Worth's platoon draws the meat grinder proper, a fold in the terrain where 3 ridges converge, interlocking arcs of fire from 300 pillboxes, Suribachi's masterpiece. They go in at first light, Amtraks grinding over the flats, but the Japs' 75mm guns punch through armor like butter, LVTs erupting in gouts of flame and screams. Worth bails from one, rolling into a ditch as rounds whip the air. the zip-zip of ricochets, a deadly hail. He crawls forward on elbows, the M1 dragging, to link with Ellis in a shell hole, the two trading clips while mortars walk the line. "This is it, Ohio, end of the trail," Ellis pants. But they hold, grenades arcing to silence a nest, the blast's echoes rolling like thunder in a tin can. Casualties crest 15,000 by week's end. The beaches a boat graveyard of wrecked landing craft, the airfields buzzing with medevacs that lift off under fighter cover, their bellies full of bandaged ghosts. Worth's unscathed but frayed, a shrapnel nick on his forearm festering under sulfur packs, the infection a low burn. Mail's the metronome now, sporadic, cherished. No mail again. Situation terrible, everyone waiting. March 3rd brings a lull. The platoon pulling back to the central plain for hot chow from field kitchens, stewed goat from local herds, tough as leather but hot, the first warmth since landing. He writes then, the diary fat with pages, the pencil worn to nub. 1 month plus. Iwo's breaking us but not broke. Jean's last letter says she dreams of our porch swing, God let me see it. The final push looms, Suribachi's remnants in the north, caves sealed with demo packs that bloom like flowers of dust and death. But for Worth, it's the letters that fight the dark, threads to Ohio pulling against the island's drag. The volcano fades behind, but its ash lingers, a shroud on souls marching north. March 5th, 1945, stirs the northern highlands into a cauldron of smoke and screams, the air a choking soup of phosphorus and cordite that burns your eyes to slits and leaves a yellow crust on lips cracked like parched earth. Worth K. Baird hunkers in the mouth of a supply trench, his foxhole a hasty slit in the tough cliffside, the walls veined with quartz that glints mockingly in the flare light. The M1's bipod is jammed with ash again, the bolt sticky from overuse, and he works it methodically with a cleaning rod scavenged from a wrecked bar, the steel scraping like teeth on bone. Ellis, bandaged calf wrapped in crusted field dressing, leans against the opposite wall, whittling a cigarette butt to even length with his bayonet, the blade notched from cave clearing. "Heard the brass say we're down to mopping up," Ellis says, striking a match on his helmet liner, the flame blooming orange in the gloom. Hargrove, face gaunt under a weak stubble, nods from the radio nook, his earpiece crackling with Division HQ. Suribachi's holed up in those caves. Blow 'em shut, no prisoners. The general's ghost legions hold the island's gut, 5,000 fanatics in the labyrinth, their Type 100 submachine guns chattering from vents, grenades lobbed blind into the dark. The platoon's task today: seal a spur of the tunnel network snaking under Hill 362A, a warren of galleries where the Japs have turned rock to fortress, blast doors of coral and timber that shrug off 105s. Worth's squad draws the demo detail, haversacks bulging with composition C2, the plastic explosive molded like dough around detonators, fuses ticking in their bakelite cases. They advance in fire teams, the lead probing with Bangalore torpedoes, 10-foot lengths of pipe packed with ammonium nitrate, rammed into blockages and blown to breach. The air reverberates with the whoomp of the first charge, a geyser of dust and screams jetting from the aperture, followed by the acrid reek of burnt powder and worse. Sewage from the Japs' latrines, mingled with the char of human fat. "Gas masks," Hargrove barks, but they're optional, the filters clogged useless, so they charge in coughing, flashlights stabbing the murk like knives. Worth covers the entrance, M1 trained on the billow. The Garand's sights aligned on shadows that resolve into movement, a Jap bursting from a side passage, bayonet leveled in a lunge that whistles past Worth's ear. He fires from the hip, the .30-06 round punching through ribcage with a wet thunk, the figure folding in a spray that paints the wall crimson. Inside, the squad fans out, the beam picking out horrors. Booby-trapped rice sacks rigged to tripwires, medical kits with hidden blades. Walls scrawled in kanji that Hargrove's runner translates later, "Die honorably." They pack the charges, Lyle the demo man thumbing the timer. 5 minutes, enough to scramble out. The run back is a blur of boots on stone, the tick-tick echoing in skulls, until the cave mouth erupts behind, a thunderclap that caves the entrance in tons of rubble, sealing whatever screams lingered within. Dust settles like fallout, coating tongues with chalk, and Worth retches into the ash, the diary's weight in his pocket a reminder to record. Sealed a cave today. Japs inside. No words, like burying the living. Mail delayed again. Feels like starving. Afternoon drags into a rhythm of such work, the division's engineers dynamiting spurs, while Seabees pipe in the first B-29 emergency landing. The Superfort's props a hurricane as it touches down on the scarred strip, crew waving from the cockpit. The airfield's a lifeline now, P-38 escorts fueling for Tokyo runs, their silver fuselages parked wingtip to wingtip amid sandbag revetments. Mail flows steadier with the strip open, pouch planes, C-47s, skimming low to drop canvas bundles that thud like manna. Worth's share arrives at dusk, a fat packet from Ohio, Jean's letters thick with news of spring thaw, the Warren County Fair cancelled for bonds, Harry's basic at Camp Lejeune. Sweetheart, the flag photos framed on the mantel. You're my hero wherever you are, come home soon. The swing's waiting. He smiles for the first time in days, the creases cracking salt from his cheeks, then pens back under a poncho's drip. Island secured soon. Thinking of that swing every night. Your letters keep me whole. The diary, etched by firefly light from a cigarette lighter, adds the shadow. Mail at last. Jean's dreaming of home. 1 month, 2 weeks. Caves like tombs, but we're closing them. Her words spark plugs the dark. March 10th marks the pivot, the grinder's jaws loosening as the 3rd Division swings east, flushing holdouts from the cliffs with naval gunfire. The Missouri's 16 inches thundering like judgment, shells arcing in mile-high parabolas to pulverize ridges into talus slides. Worth's platoon rotates south for rest, a relative term in foxholes near the Central Plain, the ground firmer here with the ash packed by traffic. They scrounge hot chow from mobile kitchens, spam fried in renderings, potatoes from Hawaii crates, the first solid meal since the landing's slop. Ellis breaks out a captured sack flask, rice wine sharp as regret, passed in tin cups while stars prick the velvet sky, free for once of flares. To Ohio, Ellis toasts, and Worth raises his, the liquid burning a path to memory. Jean's kitchen, the scent of apple pie on harvest nights. But the war intrudes. Runners report 20,000 Japs dead, our toll 6,800 KIA, 19,000 wounded. The beach is a salvage yard of hulks twisted by fire. The mop-up stretches cruel into the 16th, patrols routing stragglers from draws. The Japs will broken but not bent. Suicides in caves, last stands with officers' swords flashing in the dark. Worth draws a skirmish on March 12th, his squad ambushed in a gully, knee mortars bracketing the position with airbursts that rain steel confetti. He drops a firer with a lucky shot at 200 yards, the Arisaka clattering down the slope, but takes shrapnel, a hot kiss on the forearm that furrows meat without bone. The corpsman patches it with sulfur and tape, the sting a footnote to the day's dead. 2 from the platoon, buried at sea off the Nevada's rail. Diary that night, arm throbbing. Nicked today, nothing bad. Lost Daniels to a mortar. Mail from mother says pray, doing plenty. This rock's done chewing, now it's spitting us out. By March 20th, the lines contract, Kuribayashi's last radio silence confirming the end. The general and staff found weeks later, suicides in a northern cave, their bodies twisted in final defiance. The island's flag flies from a proper staff on Suribachi, the second raising after the first souvenir snip, the wind snapping it like a challenge met. Worth's platoon pulls beach detail, policing wreckage for the salvage crews, the surf a gentler roar now, washing clean the stains. Mails a flood, backlogs cleared. Jean's bundle includes a photo, her in Sunday best, smile bright as V-mail gloss. Jean's sick letter said she got the Time mag. About Iwo, so she knows I'm here. I'm sure glad she has finally found out. I couldn't think of any other way to tell her definitely. A month exact since the ramp dropped, the calendar in his head marked by entries, the notebook half spent, pages warped but faithful. March 26 dawns with reveille for embarkation, the 5th Division filing aboard LSTs under a sky washed blue, the volcano shrinking astern like a bad dream. Worth stands at the rail, pack light now, rations eaten, diary tucked safe. The M1 turned in at quartermaster, exchanged for a sea bag and a Purple Heart tag for the scar. The fleet weighs anchor, destroyers screening as the armada steams for Saipan, the wounded bound for Pearl, the dead for home soil. He writes the last entry on the heaving deck, pencil braced on knee amid the salt spray. Off Iwo today. Survived the grinder. Jean, wait for me. Coming home. The words blur with spray or tears, but they're there. The anchor weighed. Months blur after. Saipan for refit, then stateside by July. The war's end to atomic flash in August that spares the homeland invasion, Iwo bought with blood. Worth steps off the train in Warren County, Jean's arms a harbour, the diary shelved in a drawer amid ribbons and photos. Life rebuilds, factory job, kids, the swing creaking under family weight. But the ash lingers in dreams, the entries a private testament. Decades on, donated to the Smithsonian's vaults, the notebook emerges in exhibits, its faded script whispering of isolation bridged by ink and paper, morale forged in foxholes by a wife's distant voice. For Worth K. Baird, gone in 2010, it was more, a spark against the dark, proof that even in Hell's Forge a man could write his way home. The deck of the USS Bayfield pitches gently under a Saipan sunset in late March 1945. The atoll's palms a fringed silhouette against the blood-orange horizon, but the sea's roll does nothing to soothe the tremor in Worth K. Baird's hands as he thumbs the diary's final pages, the notebook warped and thumb-smudged from foxholes and salt. You can almost feel the phantom itch of ash under your nails, that volcanic scourge that followed him off Iwo like a curse, dusting his sea bag and turning every cough to a rasp. The M1 is gone now, swapped at the quartermaster's tent for a discharge chit and a duffel of civvies, khakis and a white shirt that hangs loose on a frame, whittled by sea rations and fear. Ellis sprawls nearby on a coil of hawser, his calf stitched and slung in a sling, nursing a warm pilsner from the ship's stores, the bottle's condensation beading like sweat. To not dying, Ohio, he toasts, clinking against Worth's canteen cup of coffee gone cold, the brew's bitterness a pale echo of the island's bite. Hargrove joins them, pipe clenched in teeth yellowed by Lucky's, his lieutenant's bars pinned fresh, the promotion whispered over the rail as the convoy formed. Suribachi's confirmed KIA, blew his command post sky high, he says, exhaling a cloud that mingles with the diesel exhaust from the screws churning below. No cheers, just nods, the Victory hollow as a spent casing. The fleet's a floating city now. 500 hulls steaming west to the Marianas, destroyers pinging for subs in the depths while hospital ships trail like wounded kin, their white hulls lit for neutrality. Worth leans on the lifeline, the diary balanced on the rail, its cover a mottled brown from rain and blood-flecked ash, the spine cracked like old leather. He'd smuggled it through inspections, claiming it a letter log, but the truth's in the entries. A ledger of isolation, where the ban on diaries, security risk, private, one-page floats, were mapped for the rising sun, meant every word a defiance, every scratch a stake against madness. John's letters, those V-mail ghosts enlarged from microfilm, had been the counterpoint. Pages blue with ink, scented faintly of home, arriving in bundles that the platoon poured like gold. Her letters do so much to pick me up, he'd scrawled amid the grinder's roar. It's just like a new spark of life. She's a sweet wife. Now with the volcano a smudge astern, he adds an epilogue, pencil lead feathering on the ruled lines, Iwo behind us, survived by luck and letters. Jean, the swing waits. I'm coming. April unfolds in Saipan's tent cities, the 5th Division's ranks thinned to shadows. Replacements green from Pendleton filling gaps with awkward salutes. Worth's platoon disbands for rotations, Ellis to stateside hospitals, Hargrove to Okinawa's prelims, but the diary stays close. A talisman pulled out in the humid nights when nightmares replay the caves. The whoomp of demo packs, the wet crunch of bayonets, the shrapnel's kiss on his arm that left a puckered scar like a question mark. Mail catches up in avalanches, the post office a Quonset hut buzzing with sorters. the air electric with homeward pangs. Jean's latest arrives creased from the clipper. Darling, the war bonds drive raised 1 million, your flag's everywhere. Harry's overseas now, pray for him. The garden's weeds without you. He replies on the flight line, under the growl of C-54's ferrying brass, the words flowing freer now. Iwo was hell, but secured. Home by summer, promise. Love that beats the ash. The diary, though, holds the unsent. 1 scar from shrapnel, arms fine. Lost count of friends in bags. Her knowing from time eased the lie. By May, the rotation ships him east, the crossing a monotony of drills and chow lines, the diary fattened with sketches, rough maps of the beaches, caricatures of Ellis's grin, the flagpole on Suribachi a stick-figure triumph, Pearl Harbor's a layover, the harbour a graveyard of battle wagons patched from 41. Their scars like Iwo's cliffs. Worth wanders the barracks, the air ripe with plumeria masking the oil slicks, and mails the bulk, letters sanitized, the notebook spared for Jean's eyes alone. June docks him in San Diego, the train east a ribbon of steel through canyons that mock the island's ravines, civilians in victory gardens waving from platforms, their cheers a balm on wounds unbandaged. Warren County greets him at the Lebanon Depot July 4th, fireworks bursting like mortars over cornfields, but it's Jean's face in the crowd, hair pinned in victory rolls, dress floral as pre-war Sundays, that undoes him, her hug a harbour after the storm. Home rebuilds in fits, the apartment above the hardware store, the swing on the porch creaking under reunited weight, the job at the Studebaker plant riveting fuselages for the endgame. The diary hibernates in a cigar box under the bed, its pages yellowing like old newsprint, pulled out on anniversaries when the ash streams return, the explosion's terrific roar, the mail's happy day, the censorship's gag. Awakened early this morning by a terrific explosion. Ammo was still going off, drums of gas exploded, shrapnel had flown everywhere, wish I could tell her all that happens. Jean reads it once, full, her tears salting the ink, then seals it back. Your war, Worth. Let it sleep. Kids come, 2 boys, one with his eyes, the other Ellis's lopsided smile, life layering over the scars like lacquer on wood. VJ Day 45 is a street party, radios blaring the Emperor's squeak, but Worth toasts quiet with Jean, the swings chains a metronome to relief. Decades weave the thread. The 50s in suburbia, the plants hum to Korea's shadow. The 60s with suns drafting for Nam, the diary dusted off to warn of jungles worse than ash. Worth speaks little, VFW halls for the Purple Heart crowd where nods suffice, but the notebook travels, loaned to a Warren Library exhibit in 75, the bicentennial's gloss on valor. Retirement in the 80s brings golf and grandkids, the scar itching in humidity. Jan's letters yellowed beside it, her passing in 92 a quieter surrender than any cave. He donates the diary, then, to the Smithsonian's Armed Forces Vault, a letter pinned, for the boys who'll forget. It kept me sane, mail and marks on paper. Curators receive it in 93, the artifact catalogued under glass, its entries digitized for scholars who pass the censorship's veil, the morale's math, 1 letter per 3 days, a survival edge in the grinder's stats. The 21st century finds it exhumed, online archives in the aughts, a PBS doc in 2015 framing Iwo's toll against atomic peace, Worth's words voiced by an actor whose timbre misses the Ohio twang. He watches from the nursing home, 89 and frail, the screen's glow on wrinkles carved by decades nodding at the flag's clip. Flag on Suribachi. Boys did it with pipe and guts. Interviews coax fragments. Mail was oxygen, diary the lungs. But the core stays private, the spark unquoted. October 2010 takes him, pneumonia's cough echoing old ash, buried in Warren soil beside Jean, the Purple Heart on his stone. The diary endures in DC's halls, a slim spine amid Patton's pistols and York's medals, exhibits rotating it to light. Voices from the volcano, 2020's virtual tour pausing on no mail again. This mail situation is getting terrible. Scholars cite it, peer reviews in the Journal of Military History, footnotes on psychological sustainment. V-Mail's role in the 26,000 casualties ledger. For the viewer, it's more a thread from foxhole to future, isolation's antidote in ink, a soldier's whisper that war's cost is counted not in bodies alone, but in the letters that tether souls across the ash. Iwo Jima fades to history's footnote, the airfields that fed Hiroshima's fire, the blood that bought 4 months. But Baird's pages burn on, a spark against the gathering dark, proof that even in the forge, words can forge a way home.